I first started selling real estate in 2006. Now that was a very specific economic and therefore real estate environment. Who wants to tell me what that environment was like economically? It was great, why? Because they had a loan product that said, hey, you could basically say, I make 150,000 bucks, and they were like, I believe you. Prices were going up 20, 30%. Everybody had FOMO, fear of missing out. And at that time in college, what the marketplace was giving me was condo conversions. What they would do is buy a 50-year-old pig, put some lipstick on it, and sell the units to the parents and saying, hey, this is an investment. When your kids graduate, it'll be worth something. So I sold a lot of those. And then 2008 happened. What caused it to change was a financial collapse. We had huge, large financial institutions disappearing off the planet. In my state, 50% of everything on the market was a short sale or foreclosure. In my county, there were 22,000 properties on the market for sale. Prices going down in the opposite direction, 20, 30% per year. And I didn't know how I needed to change my strategy because I'd been using this other strategy at 26 years old, make 150,000 bucks thinking I'm the man. And then that strategy disappears. So what I did is I got access to a guide, call that person a mentor, a coach, who could point me in the direction of where the opportunities were. What explodes when there's 22,000 properties on the market for sale? Expired listings. They were at the highest they've ever been in history. I grew my business by 25% year over year. And after 4 years was doing 100 transactions and 75 were expireds. I changed my what? Strategy. So we're gonna go over what's happening briefly, why it's happening, right? Approximately how long that's gonna persist for. Anybody notice that like 5 months ago, everybody started posting that rates were gonna come down 5 or 6 times in 2024? Hey, let me ask you a question. Have they? Not once, okay? That's agents hoping that it gets a lot easier to do business. So what's happening? Why is it happening? And then more importantly, what strategies are actually working? Is this making sense? So that way everybody can continue, because you guys are all top producers, you can continue to get your unfair share because it's not the fastest, according to Darwin, or the quickest, or the smartest, or the prettiest, or the one with the most followers. It's the ones that are the most adaptive to what? Change. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Who's up for this AI? I'm sorry, I didn't fly from Fort Lauderdale for that level of energy. Who's up for this AI? Okay. Who knows what percentage of homeowners have an interest rate less than 6%? 90%. Why are we hallucinating that somebody's going to trade their 3% for 7%? Why would they do that? Only for a very specific reason. What I would call a life event. Divorce, what else? Death, what else? Retirement, job relocations, moving to assisted living facilities, moving to be closer to family, downsizing, right? So remember how I shared with you how I did all those expireds? What happened in 2011? Marketplace got good. What happens to expires? Do you think I just very maturely said, oh, I need to pivot and change? You think that's what I did? No, what do you guys do when you don't get what you want? You throw a temper tantrum just like children do. This isn't fair. But then I pivoted to probates. I live in heaven's waiting room, team. I have the largest elderly population in the country. And you know what that did? I went from 100 deals to 200 deals. All because I was willing to, you could just answer this yourself. Doesn't have to be out loud. We're all friends here. What percentage of what you're doing have you changed in the last 18 to 24 months? Be honest. Interesting. Is it mature to imagine that I cannot change and still get my unfair share? No. Essentially, I'm waiting. I'm praying to the real estate gods, please change. Make sense? So that's actually what's happening. What's also happening is that volume, we went from 6 million across the country to 4 million transactions. In this geographic area, from 17,000, we just looked at numbers, to 10,000. Now, the question is, how long do we imagine that's gonna persist? Anybody notice that economists rarely know what the hell they're talking about? On a regular basis, right? Well, the last time we had interest rates this high, the Fed funds rate, do you know how long it stayed that high? A decade. Let me ask you a question. Are you prepared for it to stay for a decade? Is your strategy appropriate to staying with this number of transactions for the next decade? No, I appreciate your honesty, right? Because I can't change it if I'm not aware of it. So that's what's happening. How do I deal with it? Because I have two choices. You know what the first choice is? Stick my head in the sand. How many people know somebody sticking their head in the sand? Yeah. right? But they're still posting on Instagram. Hashtag blessed. Right? Which is ridiculous. I can stick my head in the sand or I can deal with it. You need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome. We just cast that, didn't we? Everybody clear on what's true? And your ability to deal with it is directly correlated with getting what you want. Who wants more deals? Yeah. I love it when people say, why'd you get into real estate? I love people. I'm like, that's disgusting. You haven't dealt with enough people. I love houses. I'm like, you know how many times I had to burn my suit because it was like a cat farm? We help people, but it's also to make money. How many people have noticed that there's less opportunities for listings? So what can we logically conclude about that? Every listing appointment you go on, you will more likely than not be what? Competing. Right? So what would be a way to deal with that? Go on more points. What else? How many people here practice their listing presentation daily? Everybody here is apparently independently wealthy. Now, here's my question. Is that a realistic expectation in an environment with a lot less transactions? You think what's going to get it is you walk in, you're like, oh my God, you have a puppy, I have a puppy. Yay. You should hire me. That's ridiculous, right? That doesn't make any sense. So what's working are agents that are going on lots of appointments on a regular basis. Even though he's a top agent, you know what he does all the time? What do you think? Practices all the time. Do you think it's a fair competition when you go up against somebody who practices daily? No, it's not.
What I would say as well, too, just to add on that, and when I got started in the business, I struggled quite a bit. I went 6 months without a sale. I was a buyer's agent at first. And when I made the transition to the listing side, I kept getting beat out by Jim Sandoval, Eric Delgado, like every single one of them would always take the listing and I wasn't. So then Fernando Garcia, probably, you know. Luckily not that one, but you know. But then Aaron asked me like a key question just to kind of go on the skills. And what he asked me is like, hey, Jose Luis, what's your competitive advantage? And he said like, what makes you different in the marketplace? And I proceeded to say something like, oh, I'm honest. I'm like hardworking.
I put my clients first.
Things like that. And he said, Jose, that's what everybody does. Everybody's honest or supposed to be honest. Everybody's hardworking. Everybody is a good human being. He's like, if you're going to compete, you got to have a competitive advantage. And I listened to this podcast called Founders. And in that podcast, they kind of give like the story of like different founders that have founded different companies like Jeff Bezos, Uber, just like different stories. And they go into like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett's strategy. Do you know what's one of the things that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger look when they're investing in businesses? They look for businesses that have a moat around their business or some sort of competitive advantage.
That's difficult to breach.
That's difficult to breach. So I asked Aaron, I said, what's your competitive advantage? And what he proceeded to tell me is like, I am the most skilled agent in my marketplace. People know when they're competing against me on a listing presentation that if I'm going on that appointment, they better bring their A game. And 95% of the time, I am going to win. He's like, I want to be feared where when people find out that they're going on a listing appointment against me, that they almost like psych themselves out. Correct. Like almost like, I'm going against Aaron.
Right.
And what I incorporated, and this is right next to you guys, I'm like literally like next door neighbors to every single one of you. I said, okay, that's actually a pretty good competitive advantage. I said, if I'm gonna have a competitive advantage that's going to last, I said, what do I want it to be? So I adopted that mindset thanks to Aaron, where I said, all right, I am going to be the most skilled agent in my marketplace, knowing that when I go on a listing appointment and other agents find out that I'm going on a listing appointment, they're gonna second guess whether they're gonna wanna go on that listing appointment. So one of the things that I did is not only did I become very skilled, but I said, okay, how am I gonna differentiate myself from other agents? So what I came up with was, I came up with a solution-oriented approach. Meaning if I'm going on a listing appointment, I find out what the problem is and what they need help with, and then I sell based on that problem. So it's not like, okay, what do I offer to you? It's like, okay, tell me a little bit about what you're going through. I identify the problem, and then it's so easy to sell based on the problem. So like somebody's like, oh, like I'm having trouble getting my property ready for sale. Oh, I actually know great contractors that can help you get that property ready for sale. What if I told you I could send somebody to help you box the items? What if I told you that I can stage the property for free? So I came up with a differentiation strategy where I came up with a solution to almost every single problem that exists. Somebody has a tenant occupied property, I pitch a Matterport 3D tour so that we don't have to disturb the tenant. So I challenge you guys to think about, okay, what is my competitive advantage here in the marketplace? Like what makes me different? And what's my value proposition to the consumers? That way, when I'm going on appointments, what's my competitive advantage? Another thing that Aaron told me that helps out a lot is how many of us have ever been on a presentation and then a client says something to us and then we're like, and then we just say something.
Verbally vomit is what I like
verbally
to call it.
vomiting over it. Another example that he gave is that his son plays soccer. And when his son's playing soccer, he was going up against the goalie sometimes, get a clear break. And every time he would go, he'd kick it right to the goalie. What's really happening is that the game seems really fast for you, which is why when you're approaching the goalie, everything's happening in such fast motion that you end up kicking it right to him. The way he explained the skill development is that the more skilled you become, the game actually slows down quite a bit for you. Meaning that when you're on that presentation, you're not thinking about what to say. You're thinking about more or less like, how can I help them? And before they even finish asking you the question, you've already recognized that pattern 100 times, so you know exactly what they're gonna ask you, and you know exactly how to respond
so it slows
to
it
it,
down.
basically.
Yeah. So in an environment where there's less opportunities, one of the ways to deal with that is to become exceptionally more skilled. And that's one thing we could be working on, because when I asked how many people do that on a regular basis, there were no hands, okay? The second thing is this niche thing. So when I said that to you guys, everybody gave me the answers of the niches. Can I ask you guys a question? How many people have intentionally and purposefully tried to cultivate one of those niches? Death, divorce, job relocation, moving to assisted living facilities, like purposefully and intentionally. Yeah, one.
Me.
Guys, and the two people making the most money. You can all tell me that these are the places I should be looking, but we're not actually doing anything about it. When I started probate, you know how much I knew about that? Zero. And I went to the courthouse 6 or 7 times to figure it out, and it was a pain, and I was like, oh, I could be doing other things. But then once I figured it out, I started to call them and drop the amount of people I was calling for expires because that source was dwindling. And within 3 months, I'm taking 4 listings a month. All because I had a willingness to change. You know, we are trained, because I think the loudest voices in the training community, and perhaps, and I mean this lovingly, okay, older voices, are saying things like they're saying things like expireds, for sale by owners, cancels, just listed, just sold. The 4 horsemen, okay? But what that causes you to do is to think like a real estate agent. Do you know why these guys get so many leads? They don't think like a real estate agent. They think like a wholesaler or an investor. And if you want to see lists, those guys call 15 or 20 lists. They call Liz Pendis. They call people that are behind, that they have liens for 90 days. They call, and we'll go over that. But do you see my point? Is that if I got to go where the opportunities are, and in an environment like the one that we're in with less transactions, where the opportunities are the ones that are extremely motivated. Somebody says to you, I want to sell my house because I want to get more room for my dog's backyard. That's not going to cut it, team. They're not going to be willing to do what it takes. The next thing that's working, let's think about this logically. If there's less transactions and there's less people that are motivated, what we do as agents never changes. How much of it we do and how we do it is what changes. If there's less opportunities, what would that mean for the amount of people I would need to speak to on a regular basis? Double or triple? Can I ask an honest question? How many people here have doubled or tripled the amount of contacts they're making? 2. and what's interesting is you guys have in your midst somebody who has a solution to that problem. Because he has this dialer that will allow you to make 50 contacts an hour. And if you are doing that, you could make the amount of contacts in 1 week that it would normally take you 2 months to make. Now, wouldn't it logically make sense that if there's less people doing business, I would have to talk to way more people in order to find the people that need to do something? Is that an accurate assessment? Yes. Yeah. How many people are utilizing that tool on a regular basis? That's 4, okay? Next thing that's working. If I need to speak to more people, I have a tool that will allow me to speak to 50 contacts an hour. Would it logically make sense to have somebody else stand next to me use that same tool so I can double or triple the amount of contacts that I'm making? So you've had those dialers working for how long with on the Enzo dialer?
Probably like 3 weeks.
And how many listings have you taken?
3. And a wholesale.
Hey, and how much did you make on the wholesale?
25.
Just a light 25.
Yeah.
And how much do you think those commissions will equal?
Maybe like 60,000.
60?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 85,000
20K
bucks, and you guys are like, well, you know, that dialer's like $1,500. Like, what? How does that logically make sense? Right? These are just things to deal with what's happening. We clear on that? The next thing that's working right now, cash offers. Why would cash offers be working in this environment? Who wants to tell me? Quick. What does it cause? What does it cause to happen? Let me ask you a question. Is it easier to say, give me money, or I'm going to give you money? That's easier for you to respond to, right? Now, if somebody raises their hand and says they want a cash offer, what does that say about their motivation? Oh, so it's a mechanism to actually find people that are motivated. Why did these big platforms all have cash offer programs? Why do you think they did that?
Lead generate.
They know statistically only 5% of people accept their cash offer. Do you know what that leaves them with? Seller leads that they sell back to you for 35%. So wouldn't it logically make sense that I do that for myself? Yes. How many people have cash offer programs? Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Angel. And this guy.
And Jose, yeah.
Yeah. They also have, there's platforms that are called pay per lead. One of them is Need to Sell My House Fast. What they do is they find people through their online mechanism that get people to raise their hand and say they want a cash offer. You can call those people, only 5% will accept the cash offer. You know what the other ones you just end up with? I'm sorry? I'm sorry, loud and proud. Listing leads. My ability to deal with reality is directly correlated with being able to accurately assess it and then come up with a plan. I believe, based on what we're experiencing, the environment that we're in isn't going to change anytime soon. So if I want to do more, I need to adjust my strategy and approach. Because we were in summer and everything was yay! And now this is what? Winter. Correct? And I need a completely different strategy. To create a life by design, again, I need a time. When am I gonna do this by? Energy, it requires a lot amount of energy, and money. And this is what I'm trying to do. I wanna create margin with time, energy, and money. Margin is the difference between what you have and what you need. How much time do I wanna spend in my business? We have this thing with hustle culture where you work all the time. You know what that's gonna equate to? Being out of shape and divorced.